Now, I was gonna say, with this latest occurrence with Prince, what's your take on that?
Man, Prince, that was my man. I love Prince, man. I grew up on Prince. I remember one time, we had a partner, man. He was a Prince fan. I mean, he was a Prince fan, but he was talking hard, and he was always talking slick. And one day the man invited me over to the crib. I said, "Oh man," I said, "You a Prince fan, huh?" I said, "Man, you got the whole get up the purple thing, the ruffles, and all that." I said, "What you do, man?" I said, "You practice Prince dance when I said, you ain't out here on the blade." And the man just started laughing. I said, "Man, you's a Prince fan, ain't you, man?" He said, I said, "Yeah." Man, why would you have Prince on the wall, man? You got Prince pictures everywhere. You got the little purple suit, man. You got the little ruffles, man. You got the little heels too, man. I said, "You're a Prince fan, ain't you?" And we made fun of that guy, man. So when Prince died, man, I remember, we were just that hard on the dude, man, for being a Prince fan, but we was Prince fans too.
Yeah.
But that was just in the game. It's a masculine game, so we always thought that Prince was kind of, he was kind of pretty boy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Player, Midwest player style type guy, So, we was, messing with this guy, man, and I was just roasting him about that, and me and my man Big Silk, we was laughing at it, but it was funny, at the time, but I always loved Prince, man, when I was in the joint, what I'm saying, that's when Prince was the most biggest, man. We used to sit back, man, all the players, man, in the prison, man, be like, that brother Cole, we knew he was a player, because he had some of the baddest chicks, man.
Yeah.
He was definitely cold. He had a chick out of Milwaukee too. A lot of people didn't know. One of the guys, Harrison, man, he used to mess with Prince, man. And Harrison was a police officer, but he was a player though, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but he fucked with the players, he threw the slickest parties and stuff, and he used to put people up on a lot of stuff too, he was a real cool dude, you know what I'm saying? But Prince was cool. He used to bodyguard Prince, when he came to town, because he had a legal gun or weapon. He had, at that time, he had the legal right to carry a pistol.
Yeah.
So, Prince used to come and mess with a girl down the street from him, so he used to be in Milwaukee a lot.
Mm.
So, we used to spot him and dot him, you know what I'm saying? They were like, "Man, that's Prince." And they were like, "Oh, it's Prince, man. Yes, it is, man. That's Prince, man." He does, man. I got a couple funny Prince stories, man. I think one of the little chicks I messed with out of Minnesota, man, she used to be a Prince fan, man. We'd be riding up and down the highway, man, and she used to play Prince all day, man. I was like, "Man, hey, hold on, wait a minute, man. She gonna play some Alexander O'Neal."
Yeah.
She gonna play Jimmy Jam and Jerry Lewis, and she gonna play Danny, man. Come on now. Don't you just all Minnesota Prince house, you know what I mean? I know fuck with y'all color and all that, but you know what I'm saying? You put this Prince thing.
Yeah.
But man, I just see that the move that they're trying to make, man, they're trying to put the brother in the ground right now, man. They're trying to put that drug, all of our greats who have died recently, Michael and Whitney, you know what I'm saying, they all died of drug overdose, you know what I'm saying? So I think they're trying to put that stigma on him too, man, and try to further, integrate, the greats, it's just crazy how they, would even be allowed to even put that information out.
Yeah.
And that's the personal life, you know what I'm saying? If you get high, you get high. Me personally, I don't even suck on a popsicle, man. I don't do nothing.
Yeah.
But, if a man want to get high, you know what I'm saying? I have a lot of partners that get high. That's their preference. I mean, the man, whatever it was, just like Michael and Whitney, and some of the other greats that have died recently, man, he's a very talented brother. And, I respect the brother, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, a lot of my partners, they do all kind of stuff, but I don't judge them, so I'm definitely into the judge Prince.
Yeah.
And like I said, if somebody have a drug addiction, I think that, that addiction should be sacred, to the family. I don't think the public should be privy to that information.
Yeah.
It's not the public's business, but I think, that it's a vested interest in certain people, to put that out there because, the man, he basically had a squeaky clean life for many, many years. Nobody really knew what he did.
Yeah.
Or know what his functions were. So, you know what I'm saying? Now, the opportunity comes, they're going to say, "Oh, look at them. They're all drug addicts, they're all superstars, but they're drug addicts." So every superstar in the African-American community for somehow, recently has been, labeled a drug addict. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Then, we already have a drug addiction problem in our communities, and people look up to these people, man. That's something that you may not want to talk about, especially if you got young kids watching. They think, oh, Prince took Percocet, man, that must be the drug. If Prince took painkillers, that must be the drug. I'm going to take painkillers. They listen to these people's music. They follow these people's trends. You don't want to put that message out there, but the media loves to put the negative out. They love to put information out there that is not conducive to the people, that does not uplift the people, but bring the people's spirits down. And that's just what's going on. And we're going to see a lot of that probably for the next 3-4 weeks. Even when they do the toxicology, they do the autopsy or whatever you call it,
Yeah.
It's going to probably still come out, some negative information. But, man, listen, man, for all those who love Prince, man, hold your head up. And remember, man, this man was an icon. He did a lot of music. I mean, the man, he made a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? He surmounted a lot of odds, and we still gonna hold him up.
Yeah.
Regardless of what they say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you think about it, ain't too many, people who like, self-taught, write his own music, perform everything. There's not a lot of people, that do that anymore.
No, man, that era of the Prince and the Michaels and the Wendy's is gone.
Yeah.
Everything is computer generated now.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys, like I told you before, this is the microwave generation. A lot of these young people, what they do is they duplicate what they hear, on the internet. And, like they got all kind of devices and gadgets, so you can make all kind of faces and stuff now.
Yeah.
I remember, to make that kind of stuff, you had to pay people bukus of money.
Yeah.
Now they got programs already preset.
Yeah.
In these social media things where you can do these little tricks and trades, they got it in the music industry, and these young people, that's what they're doing. We don't see no era like Prince no more, when people actually made good music, or Ron Isley,
Yeah.
or the Stylistics, or, the Temptations, or the OJs, the Al Green, the Marvin Gaye, them days is gone.
Too cool for calm.